Hi, I'm Dr. David Dobson. Welcome to Conversations. Today, my guest is Dr. Rawia Ahmed. Rawia is an assistant professor of management at Zayed University in Abu Dhabi. She earned her PhD in business administration from University of Texas at El Paso and her MBA from University of Saskatchewan in Canada. Rabia's PhD research looked into how workplace tensions affect employee well-being from a paradox theory perspective. Her current research focuses on gender equality, which we're going to discuss today. It's a great pleasure to have you on my show, Ravia.
Thank you so much, David. It's really my pleasure and honor to be here with you.
Ravia, your PhD research studied workplace tension and employee well-being. And one of your hypotheses on your research was that organization gender diversity positions affect employees' sense of belonging. Can you share a little bit about what you learned from this test?
Absolutely. Thank you so much for your question. So just to give some background about paradox theory, I want to introduce it because it's really an interesting theory and maybe I think it's also interdisciplinary, not only in management discipline, but other disciplines can benefit from it. And there are several research papers about paradox theory in other domains other than in organizational behavior or management. So paradox theory actually dates back to 25 years ago in the management discipline. And it has its roots from the West and East. So it has ancient roots, actually. And some evidence says that even, geniuses like Einstein, Picasso, Beethoven, they were trying to look in their environments for contradicting elements to, get inspired. So, for example, Picasso, I think he was looking into the contradictions of dark and light to inspire his drawings. So when my PhD dissertation chair this time, she introduced me to paradox theory, I got instantly intrigued by the theory. And there was the paradox theory was kind of research at the macro level in organizations, but not at the individual level. And she told me about some very recent papers at that time that I read, and I found them super interesting. And that's why I decided to look into paradoxes or paradox theory. So what is actually a paradox? It's when contradicting elements that logically should be mutually exclusive need to happen together at the same time over a period of time. So they are contradictions of interrelated elements that persist over time. And I was looking into what we have, like there is a lot of literature or a recent literature review, also relatively recent now, about different types of paradoxes. And there are 4 different types of paradoxes. One of them is belonging tensions. And belonging tensions means that tensions of identity. So either between me and the group, so I want to distinct myself from my group, but also cooperate with them, or between different or contradicting values or memberships or roles of oneself. So I was looking in one of the hypotheses of my model of how the gender composition in organizations might trigger belonging tensions, and thus, and also this relationship can impact job-related stress. Well, what we found is that we could not find evidence of this. So diversity does not really trigger prolonged belonging tensions, which is a good thing, right? Because we want to have more diversity in organizations. So we asked the respondents to report on the female composition, in light of prior studies, and then in the departments, and then we couldn't find an association between gender diversity and belonging tensions in organizations.
Okay, interesting. And I know that you continue to follow in the study of genders, and your current work looks into gender equality. Can you please share why this is an important topic for you?
Oh, absolutely, yes. So I like gender equality because of many reasons personally, but one of them is because we are not there yet, as they say. So there are a lot of inequity still there, and they need to be addressed. Someone needs to talk about them so that we are aware of them and we take action towards them.
Yeah.
And because it's just ethical to do so. And by gender equality, what we mean by this definition is the equal access of resources and opportunities for both men and women.
Okay.
So that's why I'm personally interested in this area, and also diversity in general, because I have, well, actually the published papers of mine are, I have so much work in progress now in the pipeline. So I hope soon some of them gets, you know, I mean, into the light, because I'm collaborating with the collaborators in Vanderbilt and, you know, in my University of Texas at El Paso. And I hope that soon those interesting papers actually, you know, can be read by the academic audience.
Yeah, very nice. On this gender equality topic, you recently wrote a review paper along with your co-authors on gender equality and human resource management. Can you tell me a little bit about this article?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. So this is an article which was a review of gender equality for 40 years, or a 40-year review of gender equality in comparative HRM literature. And comparative HRM literature, they focus on HRM between countries.
Okay.
So what we did in this paper is we looked into the cultural gender equality measures, like, for example, Hofstede, Globe, some socioeconomic measures of gender equality as well, and how they are related to comparative HRM. So by HRM chain specifically, which are the strategies, policies, practices, perceptions, and behaviors of HRM in organizations, and how this impacts organizational and individual level outcomes, but many organizational outcomes. So how, in other words, how gender equality has relevance to organization outcome through the HRM you know, chain. So this was kind of a review. We had a review. I think we started the review from 1960, if I'm not mistaken, until 2021.
Wow.
And yeah, we looked into those measures, and you know, we have made really very rigorous efforts. I think we spent maybe 2-3 years working on this paper, of course, with other things, but this was really a lot of work. Because our scope also was very wide at this time, and then we kind of, you know, made it more, you know, more narrower, just to make it, you know, more parsimony, you know. So yeah, we along with my co-authors, we analyzed, coded so many papers about gender equality, especially the cultural definition of gender equality, our cultural measures, and we looked into how they impact organizations.
So just I'm curious, because you looked 40 years of paper. How many papers you found on this topic total to begin with?
Yes. Oh, yeah. I think each one of us maybe coded about 80 something papers at the beginning. And then we're really in depth papers. Well, after exclusion, so we found way more than this, but then they went through exclusion inclusion criteria, and then whatever was remaining, we coded them, and then we narrowed the scope. So the total that we had in the paper was 86 papers after, you know, all the narrowing. Yes.
Wow, that's a lot of reading for sure.
Yeah, a lot of reading, yes.
So I want to ask you then, what did you learn from the review of the literature from these 80 articles plus?
Yes. So actually, what interesting we found is that we know so little about how gender equality from cultural perspective and socioeconomic perspectives impact HRM chains or a comparative HRM. So there's still what we found is so little, and then one of the things that we have called for in our paper is future research on how this link between gender equality and HRM practices, and you know, I think it's much needed, and also about organizational outcomes. So we found I think 53 papers discussing individual level outcomes, but then only 33 about organizational outcomes, and we are sure that there is a way lot to say about those areas that we still want to understand and investigate.
Yeah, very interesting. So obviously now you have done this extensive literature review. Do you plan to develop some scales, or do you plan to go next step? Like, what's next for you, Rawia?
Yeah, sure. Well, a lot of things going on now, mainly in the area of diversity and gender equality, and also in the area of paradox theory. So I'm kind of between both now and kind of merging them as well.
Okay.
So I have, for example, the other thing I want to maybe work on in the future, in addition to my work in progress papers,
Okay.
for example, I have a paper on age discrimination, I have a paper on microaggressions at work, and then
Okay.
those are in the area of diversity kind of thing, because we also discuss some certain aspects of gender and similar.
Yeah.
But also paradox theory, I think I want to apply it in this domain as well. So, and also, you know, given that I think I represent, given that I lived maybe 10 years in North America in total.
Mhm.
So I think in during this time I was representing different minorities. So I was a woman, I was from a racial minority, and also Muslim. So kind of several things together. So I want to explore you know, maybe Muslim women at work from the perspective of paradox theory kind of thing, you know, merging those two concepts together. Because I think there are a lot of misconceptions about this area and a lot of that we don't understand yet. I plan a similar review for Muslim women at work, and I think what I see so far from what we have coded is that there is kind of a split between the experience of Muslim women in several countries, and that we need to kind of clarify, especially that so many women now in the Muslim world are entering the job market and, you know, getting higher education. They want leadership positions. So, and there is a lot missing that we don't understand. And there's a lot of misconception, not only from the Western world, but also from the Muslim world. There's a lot of confusion between culture and religion and overlap and misunderstandings. And I think they need to be clarified because so far, so many things are not understood well. So hopefully I can do this soon. From the paradox theory, also I want to apply it even to different domains, also in relation to job attitudes at work and experiencing tensions at work, personality differences and how people experience tensions in a different manner, and how this impacts them differently and so on.
Very exciting. You got so much going on your side, and obviously all these topics are very important, and I hope you able to pursue all this work you have thinking about it. So this is great. So I want to ask you one more question. What is your advice to students for future research? Something similar to your area.
Oh, that's a very good question. I think something that might help is that they keep focusing on so, I mean, for our dissertation, we could do a lot of research in the literature on a certain topic. I think it would be efficient, maybe not as exciting, or it's really exciting to go between different literatures. But I think what would be more efficient is to focus on a certain literature and try to, they will find so many gaps. So they, you know, if they think about it, if they link the topic to many things, then, you know, they will find so much gap, most likely. So I would give them the advice to actually learn from what to be efficient by and more productive by actually focusing on the literature they already know from the dissertation and try to come up with gaps from this literature and keep in the topic for some time. Also to keep growing, you know, because, you know, I think it will not stop at the PhD, just the start as I see it. I learned softwares, I learned a lot of other literature, how to write papers in a more efficient way. So, so much to be learned. I think we'll keep learning until the last moment in life. So I think they should keep learning, and it's really, it's wonderful to see themselves, you know, growing and the learning curve on things. And so I think this will be really an adventure to pursue in their careers. Yes.
Thank you for your time, Rawia, and best wishes on the important work you do.
Thank you so much. It's really a pleasure to be here with you.